Once a prosperous nation, France found itself in ruins by the end of the 18th century. The aftermath of the great European wars had left the country devastated, its economy in shambles, and its society plagued by inequality. The French people were burdened by a heavy sense of despair, with bankruptcy looming over their heads. However, amidst the despair, a new hope emerged from an unlikely source: the middle class. Fueled by the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity, they spearheaded a revolution that shook the foundations of the French monarchy. The French Revolution, which began in 1789, would change the course of history and lay the groundwork for the democratic ideals that would flourish in the 20th century. As time passed, the winds of change blew across the country. The French people began to enjoy the fruits of their hard-fought revolution. The seeds of democracy were sown, and institutions were established to ensure that power rested in the hands of the people. Fast forward to the present day, and France finds itself at a crossroads. The ideals that once defined the nation are being challenged by the realities of a changing world. President Macron's decision to implement pension reforms has ignited a passionate debate about the future of French society, especially the economy. In today's video, we will explore the pension bombshell on the French society. We'll talk about the impact that these reforms have on France. We'll discuss whether the pension move would collapse the French economy, and we'll expound on the solutions. But before moving forward, we would like you to subscribe to the channel for more economic insights. Pension bombshell, shaking up French society. In April 2023, the French government dropped a bombshell on everyone. They announced plans to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. And boy, did people go bananas. The streets were flooded with protests and strikes, with everyone and their grandma expressing outrage. Why all the fuss, you ask? Well, the deal is, folks are saying this change would hit the little guys the hardest. You know, the ones struggling to make ends meet, and those stuck in crappy jobs with no stability. Unions jumped into the ring, claiming it's an unfair burden on the working class. Now let me tell you, these protests haven't been all sunshine and rainbows. There have been clashes, scuffles, and some downright nasty scenes. It's like the French took a page out of their history books and went full-on revolution mode. But hey, the government isn't backing down. They're arguing that these reforms are necessary to save the pension system from going down the drain. And these protests aren't just messing with people's lives, but with the economy too. Public transportation has gone haywire, and businesses have taken a hit. The government estimates that the whole shebang has cost them billions of euros. While the pension bombshell is here to stay, the impact that it has had on society is just shocking. Impact of pension reforms, divisions, and challenges in France. There's a big problem in France that's causing a lot of trouble. The government wants to change the age when people can retire, and it's making people really mad. Even though the economy in France is doing well, with low unemployment and lots of social spending, these reforms have split the country apart. Imagine a piece of fabric that holds a society together. Well, these reforms have torn that fabric apart. People are protesting in the streets, and it's creating a huge mess. The president, Macron, promised to make big changes and be a fresh leader, but things seem to be changing in a not-so-good way. There's a growing gap between him and the people he leads. To make matters worse, there's a war happening right now in Ukraine, which is part of Europe. It's adding to the chaos and making things even more complicated for France. It's like a big mess that they have to deal with. Now, you might be wondering, why is this such a big deal? Well, when a society is divided and people are angry, it can cause even more problems. Even though the economy seems to be doing okay for now, if the social fabric of a society becomes shaky, it can lead to more issues and a weak economy. Already, the protests by trade unions have started impacting transportation and other important services. It's causing disruptions and making life harder for people. And when things are not running smoothly, it can have a negative impact on the economy too. But can that negative impact crumble the French economy? Let's see. Two possible outcomes of the pension crisis in France: overcoming the crisis and Macron reversing the decision. In this scenario, if France manages to overcome the pension crisis, and President Macron decides to change his mind about the reforms, it would be a victory for the people. The protesters who voiced their concerns would feel heard, and it could bring some unity back to the country. However, there might be a challenge when it comes to meeting France's security and defense needs. The government had planned to save money from the pension reforms and allocate it to the defense budget. If the decision is reversed, it could mean that defense spending remains relatively low compared to other European countries. While this might not be ideal for France's military capabilities, it could potentially free up more funds for other areas like social welfare or infrastructure. Macron remains rigid. In the second possibility, if President Macron remains stubborn and refuses to change his decision, it could have negative consequences, particularly for the elderly who rely on their pensions. The older retired people might be the losers in this situation, as they may face financial difficulties or struggle to make ends meet. On the other hand, France might exhibit its strength in defense and security matters if the reforms go ahead. However, the social fabric of the country could be strained, and this could affect the most vulnerable, such as the poor. The economy might experience some turbulence, as unity among the French people is under strain due to the reforms. However, it's important to note that France is relatively stable in the post-pandemic world and has managed to avoid a recession. But what should be done to avert the crisis? Here's the catch. Before that, we would once again like you to subscribe to the channel. How to overcome the crisis. To overcome the situation where protesters are unhappy and the government has made the decision of retirement age without a vote in parliament, several steps can be taken. First and foremost, the government should engage in meaningful dialogue with the protesters and their representatives, actively listening to their concerns and demonstrating a willingness to find common ground. Additionally, considering a parliamentary vote on the pension reforms can address the issue of decision-making without democratic representation. This would allow lawmakers to debate and discuss the proposal, ensuring a fair and transparent process. Flexibility and a willingness to make adjustments to the retirement age proposal are also crucial, as they show a commitment to finding a compromise. Establishing an independent commission can provide expert insights and recommendations for potential amendments to the reforms, further enhancing transparency and accountability. Exploring mediation or arbitration can help facilitate constructive discussions between the government and protesters, while rebuilding trust through transparent communication and actively involving stakeholders in the decision-making process is essential. By taking these measures, the government can work towards resolving the issue, addressing the concerns of the protesters, and fostering a more inclusive and democratic approach to pension reforms. It is also to be kept in mind that the issue cannot completely destroy the French economy, but it could impact the social fabric of the society, or to be precise, the social contract. If the wedge between Macron and the public increases, France might be in for a political crisis. And then possibly political instability could invite economic vulnerability or maybe economic downfall. We hope that sanity prevails and we could once again see the French prosper through liberty, equality, and fraternity. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates.